Hi everyone, welcome to Soul Focus TV. My name is Samantha, and today I thought we'd talk about just some simple hygiene and sanitation for your makeup and your products at home. Now is a great time to kind of go through everything, get rid of anything that's expired or that you're not using. And then myself as an esthetician and as a freelance makeup artist for many years, just some tools, some tricks in the trade to keep things really sanitary and clean. I think our new normal will really lean towards a lot of sanitation, and I think these are just some tips to help you kind of keep your own makeup clean for yourself, or if you're doing someone else's, or if you're sharing with a roommate or a friend or a family member. Here are some things that maybe you didn't know, or just things to look out for. So first and foremost, I think the best way to keep your products clean and sanitary is just to simply get a metal palette and a spatula. I got this in a kit when I became licensed, but these you can get on Amazon for like $6 to $10. They're really inexpensive. And they're just a great way to keep everything clean. That way you can transfer makeup onto this palette and just work from here. So you're not double dipping or sticking your fingers or making the products itself in their packaging contaminated or, filled with any kind of bacteria or your fingers. And then this can be easily cleaned by just being wiped down and then sprayed with at least 90% rubbing alcohol. That's going to be your best friend during all of this, all the cleaning and sanitizing. So if you have a powder, a pressed powder, a highlighter, or a palette, these can last 2 years. Same with loose powders. So you can have them for a while. And the best way to clean them is simply, I have a 90% rubbing alcohol labeled. I keep this in my kit, but it's great to have on hand on your vanity in your bathroom, wherever you do your makeup. And to clean these, you can simply just spray them, make sure it gets all wet, and then just lay it to dry, and then close it. It's sanitized, all the bacteria is cleaned. Same with this one. And then if you have a loose powder, again, this is 2 years. So if you've had something longer than 2 years, for the pressed powders, loose powders, the loose you're kind of using. It's not like you're reusing it, and the pressed ones can be sanitized. But about 2 years, you want to see if things are smelling weird, looking different. If makeup's starting to change color, that's a great way to say it's probably not good anymore. But loose powder, I think this is one of the reasons why it's great to use a palette, because I think a lot of people dump their loose powder into the top, right? And then you use it from there. But once you've used it from there, now this is dirty. So you're going to have to either sanitize it or get a metal palette. Simple. Then there's also liquid foundations and concealers. These have a shelf life of about 6 to 12 months, depending on how you use them. Again, these can be pumped out onto your palette. It's way better than putting them onto your hand and then onto your face. Your hands are much dirtier, or especially if you're doing someone else. And the same with a concealer. That's why I love this palette. You can put the concealer right onto the palette and then use it from there. Rather than if you take this and put it onto your skin, once you put this back, that's it. You can't use this on anyone else. It's contaminated. So you can use it for yourself. If it's just you and you're not sharing it, it's fine, but you shouldn't be shared once it's touched your skin and gone back into the container. If you have a pomade, something like this, again, this is about 6 to 12 months, and these can simply be sprayed with 90% rubbing alcohol. You just want to make sure that you leave them to dry completely open before putting this back on. But if you have something where you need to take the product out of the container, this is where if you dip your fingers in, that's it. This shouldn't be shared with anyone else because all your bacteria is in here. You don't want to put it on to anyone else. And that's where the spatula comes in, where you can take it off, put it on the back of your hand. You'll see probably your esthetician do this at the spa so they don't double dip into the product. Work from there or work off the palette is even better. These away. Next is a big one is mascara. Mascara is something that really gets filled with bacteria because it touches your eye and then it goes back into here. First of all, you should never be pumping your mascara. you pump air into the container. That dries it out. That causes more bacteria to form. You want to make sure that you can either swirl it, and you can see, because I'm not pumping it, it is very wet and sticky still. These last about 3 months. And again, if you're putting this on your eye and putting it back in here, you can't share it with anyone. That's why when I do clients, or if you're sharing your products with someone else, you can get these disposable spoolies. You just dip these in here, use them, and then throw this out and get another one and use it again. So that's just a great way to stay sanitary if you're doing anyone else's makeup, or if you're getting your makeup done, you should make sure that your makeup artist is also following these sanitation steps. Then there's lip gloss and lipsticks. Lipsticks are good for about 2 years, while lip gloss is about a year. Again, you can either get a Q-tip, or they sell these like disposable lipstick applicators, which you can use for gloss or lipstick. I even take my metal spatula and I'll just scrape off the lipstick, put it on the palette, and use it from there. And then you have to worry about sanitizing these because nothing's ever touched it. Now, if you have something like a liquid eyeliner, this is a shelf life for about 6 months, but it can't really be used on anyone else. You don't want to be using this on yourself, using it on someone else. You can't really sanitize something like this. So next we're going to use some things that take a little more sanitation that you should be doing at home, whether or not you're sharing these products or not. It's how to keep them the cleanest. So for a tweezer, this should be sprayed with alcohol before and after every use. So spray it, tweeze your eyebrows, spray it again, and then put it away. This is the best way to keep it clean, especially because you're pulling hair out from the root, there's blood. You want to make sure that these are sanitary all the time. Then there's also things like pencils. These can last a pretty long time because as you're using it, if you keep it sanitary like I'm about to show you, then it's pretty clean every time you use it. So make sure you keep the cap, you don't lose it. Every time, I know it seems redundant, but every time you should be spraying it, then sharpening. The sharpener should also be sprayed with alcohol beforehand, which I didn't show, but it is clean. Then you can use it, then spray it again. Let this dry, and then it's clean. And then before and after each use, you want to empty, right, this out, and then clean this out as well with alcohol so that everything's clean and sanitary. And then lastly, I just want to show cleaning some brushes because I know we all have these dirty brushes at home. These can have a lot of bacteria in them. And if you're sharing them with someone else, it's not good. You want to make sure that these are cleaned all the time. If you're just using them on yourself, I like to clean mine every other week. I know that seems like a lot for most people, at least once a month. But if you're using it on someone else, it should be clean when you use it on them and then cleaned afterwards. So when I do a client, I'll typically, obviously all the brushes are clean, and then I'll just put them in a bag, a plastic bag, and when I get home, I'll worry about cleaning them. So there are a bunch of cleaners you can use. I've seen online, they'll say dish soap and coconut oil. I have not had a good experience with that. The dish soap is too harsh for the brushes, especially if you have nice ones. Coconut oil just sticks in there, it never really comes out, and then I feel like it has a lot of bacteria in there. So I have some great cleaners. One that you can get simply from any store is Johnson & Johnson baby shampoo. There's no paraffins, sulfates, dyes, anything bad in it. It's gentle, it's nourishing, and it's easy. And kill the bacteria. So what I'll do is I'll get it wet. Normally I do this at the sink, but I'll get it a little wet. And then I have this little makeup, it's like an exfoliant, and it has little plastic ridges on it, and that'll help clean the brush. If you don't have something like this, you can just gently use your fingers, but I don't want to be too harsh with it. So we'll do a little baby shampoo, clean this all up, And it's best to do this at the sink because you don't want to keep reusing the same water, but I thought that might be a little loud if I did this in front of the sink. So rub the soap in there. I'll give it a rinse. And make sure that all the makeup's out of it. And then the way that it's laid to dry is how it'll shape. And then once it's dry, you've cleaned it, now sanitize it. And then they're clean, sanitized, and good for your next use. Next, what we all have, our beauty blender. There is no way to clean and sanitize your beauty blender, unfortunately. These are filled with bacteria. They always are. When I do a client and when you get your makeup done professionally, they'll take out a new sponge, use it on you, and throw it away. These are disposable. They should never be used a bunch of times. So I don't like to waste and throw out all the time. I do use a beauty blender at home. I would say about 2 weeks to a month tops, and you should be cleaning it between every use. So I always just get it wet in the sink, right? And then it'll fill up like it does, gets fluffy. Put baby shampoo on it, and just try to squeeze out as much of the product as you can. And while you are cleaning it and you'll see the makeup coming out of it, it's still trapped in there. And that's the thing about these. You definitely don't want to be sharing a beauty blender with anyone. If you're going to do a friend's makeup, use theirs or just get a new sponge. They're not expensive. They have a bunch of disposable ones. And then just let it dry. You can see it's cleaner, but it's definitely not 100%, so this is definitely not a shareable product. So I hope that was informative, helped you out a little bit. Maybe you'll take some time and clean out your makeup. Hope to see you guys at the spa soon. Stay safe.